Grace and peace to you. Friends, when is your favourite time of the year? Do you love the hope that springs in spring, or the warmth of a summer's day? Do you like the golden trees of autumn, or the frost of winter mornings? To be honest, I enjoy most of those parts of the year, and whilst I might not be able to pick a favourite, we are about to head into one of my favourite times of the year. Yes, spring, but more than that. We are about to head into the Six Nations Rugby Championship. I love it. I know everyone doesn't love rugby. But there's something about it that has drawn me in all my life. This year, however, it won't be like a normal year, because the 67,144 people who normally pack into Murrayfield for Scotland's home games won't be doing so. It's a lot of people. Before and after the game, everywhere is packed. The trams, the streets, the bars and buses, the whole of Edinburgh heaves with match day excitement and people. It's a lot of people. Can you imagine if they all suddenly just weren't there? As we try to get a head around that many people, I want you to think back to your school days now. For some of us, that isn't too long ago. For some of you, you're living through it right now. And for some, you might count it in more decades ago than you'd like to remember. But as you think about school, can you think of that one teacher who opened your eyes to a subject? Can you think of the one teacher who engaged you in such a way it was maybe life-changing? Mr. Morris was my maths teacher in my last 2 years at school, and he took my enjoyment of maths from being something that I'd probably study at uni to another level. Mr. Morris opened my eyes to the innate beauty in maths and the breadth of applications of the subject. However, we're not here to listen to stories of Mr. Morris and his surprising boxing pedigree. So let us hear today's reading.
Mark chapter 1, verses 21 to 28. They went to Capernaum, and when the Sabbath came, he entered the synagogue and taught. They were astounded at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. Just then there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit, and he cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." But Jesus rebuked him, saying, "Be silent, and come out of him." And the unclean spirit, convulsing him and crying with a loud voice, came out of him. They were all amazed, and they kept on asking one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." At once his fame began to spread throughout the surrounding region of Galilee.
Thank you, Andrew. A new kind of teacher. That suggests that Jesus has changed the way that people understood things significantly. And not just the matter at hand, but how they interacted with it as well. Throughout Mark's Gospel, there is an uneasy tension between the complete revelation of who Jesus is and his divinity, and wanting to keep everything a little hush-hush, waiting and watching for the right time to reveal all. However, here at the very start of the book, the author of the text lets us peek behind the curtain and reveal something of Jesus being more than just a knowledgeable teacher. There would have been nothing unusual at that time in the ancient Near East about a travelling rabbi reading or preaching in a synagogue. There would have been nothing unusual about them sharing their understanding and answering questions and talking with the people gathered. However, on this occasion, the visiting rabbi diverges from the normal procedures of the time and speaks in a way that appears to come directly from God. The combination of that remarkable divine rhetoric and the miraculous act of driving out a demon And I would expect more discussion than is noticed in the text. All of this points to Jesus being something special. A new kind of teacher. A teacher that is directly connected to God. A teacher who we know and understand to be God, God's self. As I think of Mr. Morris, he opened my eyes, not just because of the words that he said, but because he lived and breathed and fully believed in everything he was teaching me about maths. If you were willing to listen, his eyes sparked bright and he came alive in a way that drew the student in. As we hear the teachings of Jesus, this new kind of teacher, we are listening to parables and accounts of his life. We hear teachings that should be life-giving and life-changing. The teachings of Jesus are not meant to be dry and dull. They are about a life and a love that changes everything, bringing forgiveness and inclusion that changes the world. Sometimes our worlds change for the better, but sometimes they do not. The last 12 months have been hard for all of us. And in this past week, the UK has marked 100,000 people losing their lives to COVID-19. 100,000 people. That's a lot. That's enough to fill Murrayfield 1.5 times. It's more people than I can readily conceive in my mind's eye. This is not insignificant. And we must be aware of the enormity of this ongoing tragedy. A tragedy that so far has taken roughly one life for every 660 people across the country. It remains really difficult to be locked down, and it's unlikely to get any easier. It's likely that we will be locked down for longer than any of us want, as we sit at home, waiting for the modern miracles that are vaccines, for them to be completely rolled out to everyone. Let us remember all who have died, all who have lost somebody they love. Let us remember those who have not died, but for whom life has changed in the long and short term because of the virus. Let us remember the carers on the front line. Let us think about how the new teacher might talk about this. We would be taught of love and self-sacrifice, doing what we can for the benefit of others, even if that means staying home when all we want to do is burst free. Through Mark's Gospel, the godly nature of Jesus is not shouted from the rooftops, but his compassion and divine love is evident in this new kind of teaching. Let us listen to the new teacher and try to live out a divine love for ourselves and for our neighbours. Go into your world and listen to others. Go into your world and love others. Go into your world and know that you are blessed.